It's all looking a little bit wild in the study at the moment, and if you followed along with us for a little while, you'll know this is the area that I use as a bit of an overflow to our pantry, but we also use it for storing things like potatoes, sweet potatoes, pumpkins. That's all we have left at the moment. We're eating through a lot of those quite quickly this year. But it's also overflowing because we've got some new equipment. I've been using the same vacuum sealer for quite a few years now, but it has just started giving up the ghost, and hubby managed to pick up this new one from Aldi the other day, as well as a really big lot of replacement rolls and bags because they were only $14.95 each. And I do find that the bags and the rolls from Aldi are incredible value. I think they were like $14 something a pack. When you get them from the camp stores, they're not always as good a quality, and I've spent like $29.95 on similar, so it's pretty much half the price through these guys. But the other cool thing about getting the vacuum sealer is that our current vacuum sealer, which we've had for over a decade, which is also an Aldi one, it's just started not working properly. I'm finding it's not sucking out the air. I mean, it still works and everything, but it's just got that vibe that it's about to give up the ghost. So when hubby saw that for sale for $59.95, he picked that up there for me the other day. And that means if the other one does completely go kaput, we do have the new one. But that's not what I wanted to really focus on in this video. What I want to show you is this one here, which is a box of new canning jars that a company reached out to us. They actually gifted these ones to us to give a go and see what we think of. So I'm going to pull those out and do some preserving for the first time with these today. I'm going to make a bit of a lime cordial. The reason for that is it's pretty much one of the most acidic things that we do, and acids, if you are a preserver, you would know one thing that really tests the lid of preserving jars. So I thought that'd be a good one to have a crack of. But I do have a jar that he gifted me, and I'll explain a little bit more about that when I pull this out in a second. The other thing I wanted to give you an update on in this video is these jars here. So this is back when we did the comparison video of the Aussie Mason jars versus ball mason jars. Those following along, again, will probably know I've used ball mason jars for a really, really long time now. Ball and Kerr. And I've used the ball mason lids and also 4Jars lids, and those are my favourites. They are really good quality, and I get very, very few failures with them. But the Aussie Mason jars were one that I hadn't really tried before, and that's why we did the test of them together last year. It's going on, 8-9 months ago now, and I can very pleasingly report that I have not had one seal failure on any of these Aussie Masons. So with those ones, when we did the test, we used the jar. So you can see, or can you see, Aussie Mason on the jar, but also the Aussie Mason lids as well. And they've all worked out really well. So they are definitely jars that I would confidently use again. When I've lifted the lids on these, there's been no signs of pitting or rusts or any of those things that you can get with crappy jars. And yeah, very happy with adding those to the repertoire of all the other jars that we use. Because as you guys know, we don't just use one type of jar here. We use what's available quite often for the best price, but I don't use crappy jars. I always like to use ones that I'm going to be confident are going to seal and are going to stay sealed. They're not going to rust, because we work so hard on our produce. We never ever want to lose produce. All that work you've put into growing and all the work into preserving, yeah, you definitely don't want to be losing all your valuable produce on crappy jars. So hopefully these whole jars are a new brand that we can use along with all the others that we use that are actually a good one available for us here in Australia. G'day there, it's Rachel here from Bush Edge Homesteading Australia, and these are the jars that I've now pulled out of the study that we're going to have a go at using today. You can probably see I haven't even opened the boxes on these yet. I went down and picked them up the other day from a place called Kegland. So the way this kind of came about is they messaged me on, I'm trying to think if it was like Facebook or Instagram or something like that, and said they had a new lot of jars in that are preserving jars the fellow Key that actually reached out to me, he does a bit of preserving himself and he'd already had a go at using them. And he thought we might be someone that could give them a go and let them know what we think. And he offered a couple of boxes of jars. So we've got 2 different lots of jars here. We picked up 500ml jars, and these are 1 litre jars as well. And today I think I'm just going to have a go at using the 500ml jars. And I'm going to use them for doing some lime cordial. So I'll show you very briefly how to do that as well, but the focus is not going to be so much on the lime cordial making. It really is about having a bit of a test and a bit of a look at these jars, because I know that getting jars in Australia is an issue for a lot of us. Like, they can be really expensive to get good preserving jars. You know, there's a lot of jars around. In fact, I think I've got one. Bear with me, because I popped it back here the other day. Sorry guys, I popped it back there the other day because it's a really good example of what people often reach out and ask about, you know, in terms of, you see these preserving jars at places like Kmart and Big W, and, you know, are they good for preserving? Well, this is a jar that was gifted to me with something in it. And if I bring you in close and we have a bit of a look at this one, and it did have something acidic in it, you can see in the top how it's got all these little rusty pitted bits, which is even way more evident when you turn it over. So this is the jars that I try and avoid, is ones that will do that, because yeah, it's not going to hold a seal, and that's kind of gross. I don't want that getting into my food. So yeah, definitely avoid jars with lids like that if you can avoid it. I mean, the jar itself is perfectly fine, but yeah, I suppose if you could get a good lid to replace that one, that would be all right. But yeah, I'll probably use that just to store things in, and I definitely will be throwing that away now that I've showed it to you guys. Yeah, so these ones here, as I said, we got 2 different sizes when I went down and picked them up, and the guys down there were really lovely. And I know if somebody gives you free stuff, you're likely to say nice things about them, but I will say genuinely, when I went down there, Key and the team, they were so friendly. Like, they took me all around their site, and they have some really cool stuff there. Like, you might know, we like to do a little bit of brewing and stuff as well, and they do a lot of, as you can probably tell by the name Kegland, a lot of alcoholic brewing and distilling and that type of equipment. There's all these little areas where it's almost like little micro experiments going on, which was really cool. Actually, when I got there, they also filmed a bit of a clip, and that was of actually getting the jars. And at the time, they gave me these 2, which we'll have a bit of a look at, which are some lids. So I might actually throw that clip in now that they filmed when I collected these. They're a little bit better at filming than I am, so you'll probably see a bit of a difference in the quality. So yeah, anyway, I'll throw that in now, and then let's open these up.
Rachel, welcome. Yeah, I've just been watching all your videos about canning, and we've got these new cans in stock. So I've got your order right here, actually, or jars, I should say. But yeah, these are a couple of the bigger sizes we have, the 501 litre. But we also have the smaller ones, and I've actually got a small 300-gram jar here. This is my homemade baked bean recipe. So I'll give that to you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's my smoky bourbon flavour. So
bourbon,
you know, hope you like them. Yeah, well, that's it, because, you know, we obviously have a lot of bourbon sitting around here and a lot of smoked malts and that type of thing. So I might even do a recipe online on our channel about that one coming up soon.
That's awesome. Thank you. Is this the ones?
Yeah, that's right. They're the jars there. So I've got like a 2-piece lid, a little bit like the ball jars, I suppose. So we're still waiting on some of the replacement lids to come in stock. Should be arriving pretty soon.
Yeah.
They've got smooth sides, and then you can easily apply labels to the outside if that's what you want to do. But yeah, we're just in the process of expanding our range of accessories with these, things like these lids. Actually, these only just came in, so they just went online, so you can have a pack of these too. So these are the lids that when you're just using them in the fridge and take that lid off, you can screw one of those guys on as well. Yeah. And that's just an easy way to, you know, if you're halfway through a jar, you can just put that on instead and then put it in your fridge.
Yeah, no, that's super handy, because we use some of the ones that are the white ones, and they leak. So if we get some, and I think having the seal in that That
Yes,
might actually stop
has
it from leaking, because the ones I have don't have the seal.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yep. Yeah, well, these are pretty good. I mean, certainly I put water in them and turned it upside down. They didn't seem to leak, so
Yeah.
hopefully okay for you.
And I like the purple.
Yes, definitely you know they come from us. And they also are dishwasher safe as well, so
Cool bananas.
hopefully that works for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
I really
Thanks for coming in
appreciate
and picking up the order. Cheers.
Alrighty, I am keen to actually get into these boxes with you now. So I'm just going to slice those open. And then we'll have a bit of a closer look at those jars, because obviously I had a bit of a look at them when we picked them up, as you saw, but it was just a bit of a quick look. And I'm hoping that these are going to feel as good as my quick thoughts on them when I did see them at the shop there. All right, so that's our first one there. They're the 500ml jars. So I guess one of the first things to note is there's no branding or anything like that on them, but they do feel fairly solid. They are the 2-piece mason type jars. So that's a wide mouth variety. I think when I asked him the question, they're not doing the regular mouth ones. I think all the ones that they have are wide mouths. And they actually have 3 sizes. So there's that one there. There's the 1 litres, which will open, but there is also another one. That's this one here, which I think from memory were the 300ml. So that's actually the beans that he gifted me when we were there. And we had a really good chat about the pressure canning unit that he uses. It's not a conventional one. Like I think most of us in Australia, we use like Prestos or All Americans. He has this kind of Frankenstein-y kind of unit that is hooked up this temperature system to, so it actually maintains temperature and venting at a certain level instead of venting too much steam. It was really interesting hearing about it there, and he's actually just posted a video which actually shows the unit. It's definitely a very interesting unit, very different to anything that I've seen before, and that's what he's used to preserve this one up. I've not opened it yet, and one of the reasons for that is I just wanted to use this as a bit of an example as well of testing in terms of the holding of the seal. And that one there is obviously pressure canned. What I'm going to do today is not pressure canning. I'm actually going to use it in a steam canning recipe, so that'll be a different way. But I might actually keep this on the shelf for a while because I just want to continue to see how it goes with holding the seal with that lid. So that's one of their lids, one of their jars. And yeah, it's obviously sealed and so far holding the seal well. So that is a good start and a good sign. Now back to these ones here. So if we have a bit of a closer look at the lid, we can see that's the seal part on it. Interesting. It does feel a little bit lighter weight. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one of my other jars. I'm really curious in terms of the weight in comparison between the two. Holding it in my hand, it does feel like it might be a little bit more lightweight than the Ball and Kerr ones and even the Aussie Mason ones. Let me grab one and test that. All right, so it's not just me thinking something's lighter weight or not. I'm actually going to grab out the scales and give that a little bit of a test. Let's zero that. And I did grab one of the Ball Mason ones as well. 304, and that's with the full system of lid, ring and jar. And let's have a look at this one here. Yeah, 276. So it is a little bit lighter weight. There you go. So it's not just me thinking that is the case, but it does still feel like a very solid jar in comparison to when I'm holding this one here. And that is something that obviously is important to think about when you're particularly thinking about things like pressure canning. You do need glass that can withstand pressure canning. And the advice is that these ones are supposed to be able to withstand it. So that is something I will have to give a go of myself a little bit later in the future. All right, let's get rid of that. So let's now have a bit of a look at the 1 litre ones. Stabbing myself here. And yes, I've gone for the closest sharp item to open these up. Really not good for the knife, especially considering that's the knife that hubby made when he did that blacksmithing course. So definitely don't want to be ruining that one. All right, so that one there, that is our 1 litre jar. So again, you know, the lid system, same. They obviously use the same lids across the smaller and larger jars because that's exactly the same as the other one we looked at. And again, it is just plain jar, no branding or anything. But I guess the one thing about that would be if you want to add your own labels and things, you'd be able to stick those on nice and easy. So yeah, that's our 1 litre ones. I'm not going to give those ones a go today. It will just be these ones here. And I think I'm going to pull out 4 of those to clean those off, because I don't need a huge batch of lime cordial, but I do want to make sure I've got a little bit on the shelf, and the limes are getting to the end of season. So if I don't do it now, I'm never going to get some in jars. So it is a good opportunity for testing and getting a job done. Now speaking of testing, there is one other thing that I need to open and show you guys too. And that's this pack here of lids. What did we get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we got 6 lids in that pack. And they have a seal on the inside. So Key did mention that these are leak-proof seals. That's something I also do want to actually test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw some water in this one here, and let's give that a go. These sorts of lids are fantastic when you're putting things in the fridge. So I do have another brand, and these are the ball ones. That's those ones there. I've had these for probably a good decade or so. They are so handy, like if you're opening up jams and things like that, wanting to get in and out of jars, so you're not having to manage, you know, pulling a ring and pulling a lid. That is very, very handy. But the problem with these ones is they're not leak-proof. You can see there's no seal in these. So whenever you put something in and it's a liquidy type thing and you turn it over, it does actually spill out. So I am keen to see how we go with this one, filling it with water, and whether that is actually leak-proof. I thought I'd better come over to the sink just in case it's not. There we go. Sorry about all the background noise, but it's the weekend. Lots of activity going on around here, as there always is at the moment. I need to make sure I get that on properly. All right. Moment of truth. Is it leak proof? Oh, can you see? No, you can't. There we go. That is awesome. That is not dripping at all. And they are a lot cheaper than getting the ball ones, because it is actually a ball one that is in a dark charcoal color now that you can get, and that one is leak proof. That's really cool. That is actually a new leak proof lid that seems to do the job here in Australia. Obviously, I will need to test this over time just to see how long those seals actually last for. I can't talk to that, but right now that, yeah, seems to be doing the job. Alrighty, now that we've tested that out, what I'm going to do is put away all the stuff that I don't need right now, and I'm going to get on to making that lime cordial. This is the recipe I'm going to use, but the reality is I've had this one written down for years and years, and it started off as a recipe that I found somewhere online. In my true fashion, I adjusted it by adding way more limes back then. But over the years, I've found I kind of wing it. Find if you just add more limes, it's just more concentrated, and that can be perfectly fine to your taste. Often I don't even bother with the citric acid and the tartaric acid. You know, some people say you need that so it doesn't ferment in the jar, but the reality is if you're canning it, you know, like if you're steam canning or you're water bath canning, or even if you're doing foulers, you're going to be killing off a lot of that yeast and bacteria that would cause well, you are killing it off. Like, that's the whole point of that preserving process. So I don't think you really need it for that purpose. That's just my feel, but maybe someone else can challenge that for some reason. It does raise the acidity, but the reality is when you're working with limes, you don't really need to raise the acidity to make it safe for water bath canning or for your steam canning, because it's already highly acidic. So I'm not too fussed about leaving it out for that purpose. And some people say it makes a difference to the mouthfeel, particularly like with the tartaric acid. But you know what? I don't tend to notice an awful lot of difference with that as well. So put it in, don't put it in. Yeah, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I just thought I would mention that I am pretty flex when it comes to this particular recipe. And that's because I know it's acidic. The limes. I do want to talk about these limes as well that you'll see as I pull this together. The limes are very yellow. No, they are not lemons. It's just that it's kind of towards the end of the lime season. As they get really ripe, they turn yellow. After we get the frosts, they seem to turn really yellow. And that's what our limes look like at the moment. All right, let's pull this one together. First, we're going to chop the limes. And then we juice them. I'm just going to put in a little bit of water, and that's because I actually need this to be 2 litres once I've got the lime, the water and the sugar. Sugar-wise, I just had to get our big container out. Just about all out of sugar in the kitchen again, so I'll do a bit of a top-up while it's here. But I do want to put in a decent amount of sugar because, of course, it is cordial. So this is going to look like a lot, but remember, it is a concentrate, and that will go into your soda water or your cocktails. It's fun for that. Or just, yeah, plain water and using it as a standard sort of cordial. I reckon I'm going to put in one more for luck. There we go. Now, I will throw these 2 in today. It's the citric acid and tartaric acid. In this amount, it's probably about a teaspoon or teaspoon. Yeah, a teaspoon will do. And again, I'm just eyeballing it here. This is how often I will do things when there's a little bit more flex in a canning recipe. Obviously, though, where it is a preserving recipe where you really need to stick to the amounts, then I'm a lot more particular about it. But this is so acid, I am not stressed at all. All right, all I've got to do now is just bring it up to the boil. Okay, so that's now boiled. My jars are nice and hot. And I'm just going to pour that straight in. Yes, I could be using the canning funnel, but when you've got something liquidy like this, it's usually fairly easy just to pour it straight in. I don't need a lot of head space with this one here. Let's see, do I have my ratios kind of right? Did I get it wrong eyeballing? Oh, it's close. Now, I do want all 4 to go into the canner. So what I'm going to do is I am actually going to redistribute a little bit of this, and then I'm going to top them all up with a bit of water. All right, so now I'm going to make the mess. And I'm doing terrible at redistributing this between them and wasting more. Oh, goodness. Alrighty, let's just get a bit of water, top those up. And again, if you were doing like a proper canning recipe that is really specific to get the acidity right, you wouldn't just be adding water like that. But again, it's lime cordial. It's really, really acidic. It's not an issue with this one. Now, because I just made such a mess everywhere, it's super important that I clean the rims of these really well. I'm going to get the excess off first. And because that is a bit of a sticky liquid, I'm going to use a little bit of water as well on this just to get the last of it off. That bit's clean and wet. And just a quick clean. And then we're going to put on our lids and rings. So this is just standard sort of Mason setup, even though it is a different brand of jar with these Hall ones, which just means that lid goes on top like that, and the ring goes on, finger tight. And yes, they are hot. With some of the El Cheapo dodgy versions of Mason jars around, sometimes when you go to put the rings on, they don't actually go on easily. Usually that's because they're like a little buckled or not quite the right shape. Oh gosh, that's hot. These ones are going on nice and easy. Aside from the fact that they're hot. Oh goodness. All right, so those three now are going to go in my steam canner, which I have set up outside. Now, I'm using the steam canner today for this one, but this is a recipe that you can do in a steam canner or a water bath. You know, a big pot that you have at home that meets some criteria can be used to water bath and make this recipe shelf stable. Yeah, but today we're going to use the steam canner. As you've probably found, this is my go-to because it's just so easy and so quick. It was hot, and that's because the jars going in are hot, and I'm going to process these for 15 minutes. But if you haven't done any preserving in this way before with like steam canners, water bath canners and that sort of thing, I do have a separate series on the channel all about canning. There's like an intro video, there's one that talks about the different methods of water bath, steam, and also pressure canning as well, if you want to do soups and stews and meats for shells. Yeah, but I'm not going to go into all the method processing these now because you can find all that in the other video series. That's the processing time done, so I can take the lid off now. Have a look at what's going on in here. And I didn't really expect otherwise, but it's good to see everything is intact. Because what I need to do now is just let these cool for the next 24 hours, and it's only at that stage that I can take off these rings, and that's where we're going to see if they did all seal properly or not. So we'll catch up tomorrow and do that. It's the next day and I've just brought this inside because I've just got home from work, and I haven't actually checked these yet because I wanted to check them with you guys, and we'll take the rings off together and see if they all sealed. So I guess this is always the first moment of truth when it comes to jars, and that's whether you actually do get a good seal with them or not. So that's our first one. Going off. And awesome. That's what you want to see. That is a good seal. Beautiful. Well, that's one. Hopefully we get a better strike rate than just one though. That's two. Oh, this is looking good. That's three. We're going to have 100% lucky last. Oh, that's awesome. All four. They've all sealed. So that's fantastic. So realistically, that's the first test when it comes to trying out new jars. Well, actually, I suppose the first test is when we opened up the canner and making sure that nothing had actually broken. And there is some really crappy jars out there that just can't even withstand canners, particularly the pressure canners. So if you find breaks, I guess that's truly the first test. The second one is on seals, and these have well and truly sealed well. The third test though is going to be whether those seals hold. That I can't answer right now, but I guess it's a good sign that that one that was gifted to me is still staying sealed. So that's looking fairly positive so far. And then the true final test, and this one is going to take a little bit more time to be able to come back to you guys on, is whether when I take the lids off of these, there's any signs of rusting or pitting or anything like that. Now, we're giving them a really good test with this lime cordial that is highly acidic. So yeah, I guess when I open that up, I will definitely make sure I come back to you guys, and that way I can let you know if the lids are good or not for, you know, being able to withstand particularly acidic foods. So yeah, that part is obviously going to take a little while longer, but yeah, I'll pop these on the shelf. I'll mark them up so that I can remember exactly what they are. And yeah, stay tuned for a future update when we open this up and we actually see how it goes. So that'll probably be, in reality, normally I'll use this in the summertime, so I don't know, that'll probably be another 4 or 5 months away, I reckon, and that'll be a decent test for these as well to wait that long. And I guess the other thing that's going to be interesting with these is the longevity of them as well, because as you know, I really do love the ball mason jars, because some of those I've had for, it's got to be coming up to like 15 years. They are awesome quality. I have been having really good success with those Aussie Mason jars that we tried out together as well. As you saw earlier, they're staying nice and sealed, but they do feel really durable as well. So yeah, I guess the durability is the other thing that I'll keep a bit of an eye on with these over time too. Well, hopefully you enjoyed following along as we gave these haul jars a go for the very first time. And yeah, I am really, really hoping that these do end up being a good new jar for us in Australia, because it is always a bit tricky to get good jars here. And yeah, even the price isn't too bad for these ones as well. So actually, I don't think I talked about the price with you guys. What I'll do is somewhere back in this video, no, or even here, I'll put the prices of what these would have been if I had have bought them. But yeah, from memory, in comparison to the Aussie Mason and the Ball Mason, definitely in comparison to Ball Mason, they were a lot cheaper. So yeah, anyway, thanks again for joining, and catch you later.